My name is Emily. I'm 21 years old, just finished my third year of college, and recently moved back home for the summer. I hadn't originally planned to. I was supposed to be in the city for a marketing internship, but it got canceled last minute due to budget cuts. I didn't want to waste money on rent with no job lined up, so I packed up my off-campus apartment, shoved everything into my Honda Civic, and drove the 2.5 hours back to my childhood home. Home felt like a faded photograph. Familiar, but somehow off. My bedroom still had my old Twilight posters, a cracked lava lamp, and the corkboard I'd once filled with movie stubs and friendship bracelets. But everything felt paused, like my old life had been frozen in time, waiting for me to pick it back up. And yet I didn't quite fit into it anymore. My parents, Paul and Sarah, welcomed me like nothing had changed. My mom insisted on making her welcome home lasagna, even though it was 90 degrees outside. My dad gave me a long, warm hug and immediately asked if my car had been making that clicking noise again. And my 10-year-old little brother, Liam, ambushed me at the door with a foam sword and yelled, "I've evolved into Liam the Gamer Knight." Liam had changed the most. He was still the sweet, slightly chaotic kid I remembered, but now he had a YouTube channel, 3 Minecraft plushies, and a growing vocabulary of Gen Alpha internet slang. He begged me to help him make content for his channel. I agreed, and the next day we shot a video where I played a villager and he fought off waves of pretend skeletons with a spatula. It was dumb and wonderful, and I laughed harder than I had in months. Everything should have felt normal, but it didn't. There were signs. Small ones at first. My dad had started drinking these green smoothies every morning, thick, grassy things that looked like blended kale and regret. He was tracking his steps religiously, sometimes pacing laps around the kitchen just to hit 10,000. He downloaded a posture app, and he started wearing cologne again. Not the warm, woodsy one I grew up with, but something fresher, younger, almost sporty. When I asked about it, he said, "A guy at work recommended it." One afternoon, I walked into the garage to get my bike pump and found him adjusting some kind of lighting setup, tripods, ring lights, a backdrop. It looked like a low-budget influencer studio. He said it was for better zoom lighting, which didn't make a ton of sense because he worked in operations for a packaging company. Still, I didn't question it. Not really. Then came the day everything changed. It was a Thursday. I just finished a run and was lying in bed, aimlessly swiping through Tinder. I wasn't even looking for anything. I was just bored. Most of the profiles were the usual suspects: shirtless gym selfies, guys holding fish, someone posing next to a tiger. Why is that still a thing? Then, I froze. There he was, Paul, my dad, age 41. Except the profile said, Trent, 29. My thumb stopped mid-swipe. The profile picture was unmistakable. Him standing next to our backyard grill wearing the License to Grill apron I bought him for Father's Day 5 years ago. Our golden retriever Milo was lounging in the background. I tapped into the profile. There were more photos. One of him in the garage, the same garage with the vlog lighting setup. Another with a cup of coffee in front of a bookcase. And a bio, chill guy, into good coffee, meaningful convos, and hiking. Let's keep it real. I stared for at least 5 minutes. I took screenshots. I checked again. I even cross-referenced his shirt in one of the photos with a pile of laundry in the corner of our laundry room. It was him. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying it over and over. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe someone had stolen his photos. But that didn't explain the photos no one else could have taken, or the garage lighting, or the apron, or the fact that he had shaved the week before and I hadn't thought much of it. I became a detective. I started watching him closer. He took longer showers. He started going for evening walks and came back flushed. One night I saw him reapplying chapstick and checking his teeth in the hallway mirror before leaving. I didn't want to believe it, but I had to. I considered telling my mom immediately, but something stopped me. I needed to be absolutely sure. Then one morning, we were doing dishes. Liam was upstairs playing some survival game, and the kitchen was quiet, except for the sound of running water. I couldn't hold it in any longer. "Mom," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, "I found Dad on Tinder." She let the dish she was holding sink back into the soapy water, slowly turning to look at me. "What?" she said, eyes narrowing. That's not funny, Emily." "I'm not joking," I said, pulling out my phone. "Look." I handed it to her. She took it with a skeptical shake of her head, but the second her eyes landed on the photo, she froze. Her breath caught. Her hand trembled. That's our backyard," she said. "That's Milo." "I know." She kept staring. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. "No," she said finally, pushing the phone back toward me. "This has to be a mistake. Maybe someone stole his pictures. Maybe it's a scam account." "It's him, Mom. He used the garage photo too. He's calling himself Trent. Says he's 29. She sank down onto one of the kitchen chairs. She didn't speak for a long time, just stared past me like she was trying to rearrange the world in her head. Then she very quietly said, "He changed his phone password a month ago, said it was for work. And the new cologne. I asked about it, and he just laughed it off. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself I was being paranoid." Tears welled in her eyes. "Oh my God," she whispered. "It's real. It's actually real." And then she started to cry. Not just a few quiet tears. She broke down, her shoulders shaking, sobs bubbling up from deep in her chest. I knelt beside her, wrapping my arms around her, and for a moment we just sat there together, clinging to each other while the soapy water in the sink went cold. We made a plan. I created a fake Tinder profile. I named her Kara. She was 28, worked in marketing, liked hiking and indie concerts, and had a dog named Luna. I used AI-generated photos to avoid using real people, just enough detail to seem real, but nothing traceable. Within minutes, there he was, Trent, 29. I swiped right. We matched. He messaged me first. "Hey, Kara, you've got a great smile. What's your story?" My hands were shaking. I replied something breezy, casual. We started chatting. Over 4 days, we talked. He was flirty, funny even. He asked if I liked wine, if I'd ever gone on a spontaneous road trip. He said he liked intentional people and hated small talk. I asked if he was single. Yep, for a while now. Took some time to work on myself. It was like a knife to the chest. Finally, I asked if he wanted to meet. He agreed. Friday night, 6:30 p.m., a cozy cafe downtown. Mom and I showed up together. We parked down a block, hearts pounding. He walked in, button-down shirt, clean-shaven, nervously adjusting his watch. Mom and I waited, then walked in together. His face turned ghost white. "Emily, Sarah, you were about to cheat on your wife with your daughter." He dropped his phone. It clattered against the table and landed face down. His hands trembled as he reached for it, but he didn't pick it up. His eyes darted between me and Mom, wide with panic. Wait, just please, let me explain, he stammered. Mom didn't say a word. She just pulled out the cafe chair and sat across from him like she was preparing to cross-examine a witness. He looked around nervously. Can we not do this here? This is where you came to meet another woman, she said, her voice razor sharp. I didn't cheat, he said, still frozen. I never meant. I don't care what you meant, I snapped. You were about to cheat on your wife with your daughter. He sank into his chair and buried his face in his hands. Please, he said, I can explain everything, but not like this. Explain now, Mom said, her voice cracking. And so he did. He reached into his messenger bag and pulled out a manila folder. Inside were notes, printed slides, sketches, a content calendar, a bullet point list titled Brand Goals. I've been working on something, he said, sliding the folder toward us. A project. A business. Mom flipped open the folder with trembling fingers. I'm building a course, he said, an online dating course for young men. Not some pickup artist crap, but real stuff about confidence, communication, authenticity. I've been filming, planning, testing content. He paused. And part of that was research. I created a persona, Trent. I wanted to understand the experience firsthand, how men connect, how women respond. You lied to us, I said. I lied to protect you from thinking I'd lost my mind. I didn't know how to explain. I thought you'd laugh or think I was having a crisis. You are having a crisis, Mom said. You're pretending to be 29. I'm 41, and no one wants advice from a 41-year-old unless he understands them. These guys, they don't relate to someone who says, back in my day. They want to know what dating is like now, so I became Trent to figure it out. I flipped through the materials. It was impressive. Topics like first impressions that stick, red flag radar, the texting trap. The silence stretched for a long time. I still don't get it, I whispered. Why do all this in secret? Why lie to your family? I was ashamed. I felt stuck, stale, invisible. Not to you guys, but to the world. I wasn't building anything, just managing shipments and scheduling drivers. And Liam was growing up. You were gone. I wanted to prove I could do something new, something that mattered. We didn't respond. We just sat there in that cafe, surrounded by people clinking forks and sipping lattes like our family hadn't just cracked wide open. The drive home was silent. When we got there, Mom walked straight upstairs. I stayed behind. Dad poured himself a glass of water and stood at the sink. I never would have slept with anyone, he said quietly. I swear on everything. I met with a couple people to talk, just talk. It helped me test modules. I recorded a few conversations, with their permission, for feedback. That's not what I matched with, I said. I know. By the time I matched with Kara, I'd convinced myself it wasn't real. I was curious, then terrified, and then you walked in. He looked so tired, older than I'd ever seen him. I'm sorry, he said. I know I hurt you, both of you. I nodded and walked away. The next week was rough, awkward, quiet. Mom barely spoke to him. I couldn't even look him in the eye. Liam, thankfully, had no clue what was happening. Then something shifted. One evening, I heard laughter coming from the living room. Mom and Dad were watching something on YouTube, a cringy dating advice video. "This is what you're trying to fix?" she asked. He chuckled. "Exactly." Then she added, "Let me see your outline again." From that night on, she started helping, reviewing scripts, suggesting segments, editing lines, adding notes in red pen. I stayed out of it until Liam cornered me. "Emily," he said, "will you help Dad film his intro? He said you know how to edit videos like a pro." So I said yes. We set up the garage like a studio, lighting, backdrop, a mic clipped to his shirt. The channel was renamed Modern Heart. first video, how to actually be interesting on a first date. It was awkward, but good, honest. No cringy pickup lines, no bro jargon. He posted it. The next morning, it had 700 views, then 1,300, then 5,000. A comment stood out. "This is actually solid. Subscribed." He teared up. Now he films once a week. Mom helps with the planning. I handle editing and graphics. Liam draws silly cartoon versions of Dad for thumbnails. He came clean to us, and now we're building something real together. It's not perfect, but it's ours. And that's the twist no one expected. The family he almost lost became the team he never knew he needed. It's strange how something that starts with so much confusion can become a shared purpose. 3 months after the cafe confrontation, our house was buzzing in ways I never thought possible. The dining table that used to be for dinners and homework was now covered in tripods, sticky notes, and Dad's growing collection of dating self-help books. A green screen lived permanently in the corner of the garage, and our family group chat was filled with thumbnail drafts and video title brainstorms. One afternoon, Liam burst into the living room wearing sunglasses and holding a foam mic. "Okay, everyone, time to shoot the next short. I'm hosting." Dad laughed from the recliner. "Only if you promise not to roast me again." "No promises," Liam grinned. Things weren't perfect. Sometimes there were long silences at dinner when we hit emotional landmines. Mom still had trust hiccups, moments when she saw him on his phone and flinched. And I wasn't over it either. I had dreams where I swiped on Tinder and saw him again. But slowly, those dreams stopped feeling like nightmares. We started doing family walks again. Mom and Dad held hands. Liam talked nonstop about the videos he wanted to animate. And Dad changed. Not just the cologne or the smoothies. He smiled more. He listened better. He had a glow about him, not from guilt or hiding something, but from finally building something he was proud of. Modern Heart hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of summer. His videos struck a nerve, authentic, awkward, and full of warmth. He wasn't trying to be a guru, he was trying to be helpful. His most popular video, How Not to Be Creepy When You Like Someone, had over 200K views and nearly 1,000 comments from grateful viewers. We celebrated with homemade tacos and a tiny cake that Liam insisted on decorating himself. It was lopsided and spelled out, "Daddy Dating King" in wobbly icing. But the biggest change wasn't online, it was in how we spoke to each other. One evening, Dad asked me, "Do you ever think you'll forgive me fully?" I thought about it. "I think I've already have," I said, "but it's like rebuilding a house. I can move in, but some rooms take longer to feel like home again." He nodded, tearing up. "Thank you for coming that night, for calling me out, for not letting me spiral." Mom later told me that she'd felt more connected to him in the last 2 months than she had in the last 2 years. She said, "It's like we started dating again, except this time we've got a production team living with us." The garage turned studio became a sanctuary. Sometimes I sat in there after filming, surrounded by lights and cables, thinking about how one discovery could have shattered everything, but instead it revealed who we all were. One day I asked Dad what he'd do next. He said, "What happens if the channel stops growing?" He smiled, "Then I keep talking. If 10 people are listening or 10,000, I've got something to say now." That stuck with me. Summer ended. I packed up to return to school. Dad helped me load the car, triple-checked the tires, and gave me a backup charger just in case. Before I left, he handed me a folded piece of paper. On it, in his handwriting, was a list of what I've learned. You're never too old to start over. Transparency is terrifying and necessary. If you're going to fake being 29, don't use your real dog in the background. I laughed. He pulled me into a hug. "Thanks for saving me." "No," I said. "Thanks for letting me see who you really are." I drove off that morning with a weird mix of peace and purpose. I'd found my dad on Tinder, but what I really discovered was the man behind the screen. And that twist, that unexpected deep tour, it gave me back my family.